Chicago is a city that knows struggle, but it also knows transformation. Today's guest is a man whose life journey spans from incarceration to influence, from the inside to the front lines of community change. He's the founder of Ex-Cons for Community and Social Change, a violence interrupter, an activist, and a candidate for United States Senate. This is Chicago State of Mind. And I want to welcome to our show today Tyrone F. Muhammad, who is a candidate for the United States Senate and also the founder of ECCSC, which we'll talk about in a minute what that is. And we're going to talk today about what's going on in Chicago and what is our Chicago State of Mind. Welcome, Tyrone.
Thank you for having me, Cheryl.
You're welcome. Tyrone is a longtime friend of Chicago News Weekly, so we're happy to have you back.
Yes.
And today is going to be a little bit more organized than before, where we were impromptu on the cameras. So just welcome. Okay. So before the titles, Tyrone, who was Tyrone Muhammad growing up in Chicago? Remember, this is Chicago State of Mind.
Yeah, so, Tyrone Muhammad, born and raised in Inglewood, Chicago, Cook County Hospital. Family, I guess you want to say, migrated from Arkansas.
Arkansas, okay.
Yeah, Little Rock, Pine Bluff, Helena, Memphis, West Helena, Marble, Pine Bluff. Did I say that?
Yeah.
Stuttgart.
Stuttgart.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we had family in all of those parts of Arkansas. And then my mom was pregnant with me at 17, I think. She came to Chicago, and I was born Cook County Hospital.
Ah,
And so,
Cook County, baby.
yeah, Cook County, and we resided in Inglewood area of 59th, Peoria, Sangamon, to 63rd in Halsted and 63rd and just Carpenter, 64th and Carpenter, but mainly 59th. Morgan, Sangamon, and those Peoria.
Yep, right in the heart of
Yeah.
Inglewood. Yeah. And what did your environment teach you?
Oh man, so I grew up watching the likes of men like Fluky Stokes, hanging around and listening to my cousins and uncles who ran with Larry Hoover, Shorty Freeman, a guy named White Cloud, the William Diaries of the World. I actually used to go to the store and buy juice or chips or gum or cigarettes for Fluky Stokes. Like, these men, were the men I saw that I kind of got a lot of my manhood training from and tutelage from, because they was the strong men of the community. They drove the big Cadillacs. They was the hustlers. They were the drug dealers. They were the people who were the caretakers of our communities, regardless to what, despite their criminal activity, they fed women, they fed children, they sponsored baseball games. They kind of was the men who checked the adolescence and the deviance of young men and boys that would harm and violate women and children or the community. So
Yeah.
these are the people I took influence from.
So you mentioned two really big names, though,
Yeah.
right? So you've got Fluky Stokes on this side, and you've got Larry Hoover on this side.
Yeah.
Interesting dichotomy.
Yeah, and they all came from the same neighborhoods and born and raised. The fact that we can have these type of men influencing the neighborhoods and the communities and even the street politics of that time. So
what effect did this have on you, though?
Oh, absolutely. So growing up in poverty, when coming home from school and watching things like Silver Spoon, Different Strokes, A Different World. See, these are shows that allowed us to know how how impoverished we were.
Yeah. 'Cause
And,
otherwise,
and you know that was a difference. Like to be able to then see gang leaders and pimps and hustlers live a certain way with the big flashy cars and rings and jewelry and diamonds. I knew that I wanted to be like them. Like I didn't see the negative. I never saw the negative, and those men have never allowed me to be around that until I got to a certain age where I wanted to be around that. No matter how much they punched on me, beat on me, after school, I was still trying to sneak a peek and figure out what they was doing, what this lifestyle was. And I wanted some of that at 12 years, at 11, 12 years old.
well, yeah. I'm thinking about what you just said and seeing, what was the name of it? Different Strokes.
Different strokes. Yeah.
What you didn't see was Philip Drummond.
Exactly. No.
You saw Willis
Yeah,
and Arnold.
But
you
I did see the benevolence
Yeah,
of Philip Drummond.
correct.
And I understood that took a certain mentality for somebody to take on some black kids, and it gave me a different view of how I view white people, in a sense that I knew that they weren't all bad. That was the show. I guess that was the intent of the show, because I also saw Archie Bunker. I also saw Archie Bunker, and so. And Lionel was on the show. I think, what was his name?
Lionel.
And I saw how he treated him. So I knew early on from my observations, because I was a kid who observed everything. Even if I didn't say nothing, I saw it. Even if I didn't understand it, I internalized it. Yeah.
So something happened though, right? Something happened.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not something so out of the ordinary, based on what the times were and where we were and where you were.
Yeah.
So what led to incarceration?
Well,
ultimately.
I've been in and out of prison all my life. I mean, jails all my, from 16, I think, to 19. Like, that was a year in my life, 3-4 years in my life. But it didn't start there. It started as somebody who was on the corner looking out for the police. So after constantly ditching school to hang out with the big homies, that they call them today, the OGs, they saw that I wasn't gonna stop, that I was gonna keep on coming no matter how many whoopings and beatings I get from the corner to the block to the house. I'm gonna continue to try to be amongst and around the action, as I saw it, amongst the guys. So at 12 years old, I could say that they just decided, you know what, let them look out for the police, because at that time, the penalty for drug possession or getting caught out in the streets in the criminal element was the detention, and your parents have to come pick you up. And the drug dealers understood that you could give the kids
that used to be
to watch out and to give them the whole of drugs, the packs. Right. So I was one of the adventurous young men who was a assertive young man who was like one of the leaders who would hold the drugs for the big guys. And before long, it became a point where I would be, at 12 years old, I was over the adults, because the leaders of the gang respected me enough to go get the drugs, bring the packs to the block. And that right there made me about $50 a day.
Big money.
Back then in the 80s. As a 12-year, 13-year, when I spent all that money on candy, cookies, and Mac Victor's, Treasure Chest, Woods, Lee's Theaters, and then Breyers and all those different stores. See, people don't know I'm aging myself. and you know, I had my super transfer, so I can go all
Anywhere.
over Chicago, see
Super
kids,
transfers.
children, in the way that we was able to experience the city is unlike the way our children are allowed to experience the city, nor can our children afford to experience the city the way we did.
Yeah.
I could take $10, go to the movies, Mac
Sure.
Victor, go watch Kung Fu, take another friend or something with me, buy popcorn, get pop, and then go to Treasure Chest. And I didn't have to worry about transportation because
Just
all
get on
of
the
the
bus.
kids that I knew had Huffies, Swins,
Right.
and we can
We
ride
had
our
bikes.
bikes. Our children don't have ride. That you know,
No.
non-citizens have better transportation than our babies do.
Well,
And so coming in that realm and being that person, I kind of understood finances and economics a little different because I saw it and I was a part of it being orchestrated in the blocks in the community. So at 12, I think I got my first 22 special gun. And I was dealing with some stuff that I was over a particular drug block and some work, and so as we say work, that would be the cocaine or the weed. And one of the elders messed up the money. And he slapped me. When I asked where's the money, he figured he's older than me. He could slap me. So at that time, I'm like, whoa, man, what you put your hands on me for? Like,
right.
and then I shot him in the stomach. And the leaders of that time, of the area, said, hey, you shouldn't have touched him. You shouldn't. Now get this punk to the hospital before we do something to him for putting his hand. He said, all right, young man, good man. And from that point,
There's no stopping. No
it's too much. I love the thrill, and I understood the power of a gun. And then from that point, it was up. And so it evolves, and
Ultimately,
the strange thing is your past follows you as you get older. And then here I am finding myself later on through my adventures of life. I'm now doing 21 years in prison for something that, you know, for a murder that happened. So
Where were you?
I mean,
Downstate?
I all over the city. So
They
from
moved
top,
they moved you
I
around?
was in about 7 different prisons up and down the state of Illinois. There was a state case, not a federal case. So I started at Joliet Correctional Facility, and then once then I moved around, went all the way to Paducah, Kentucky, Shawnee down there. And then I moved
Paducah.
around. Almost by the end of the doggone state, you got Shawnee.
I know where Paducah
Yeah,
is.
and then you got is that Vienna down there, where Larry Hoover used to be. And then you got Shawnee. So they send you way downstate, almost virtually impossible for family and
For
friends
sure. It's very.
to ever visit, and that's a problem to this day. I think transportation and unifying families so that they could be connected, so that once people, which is 70 to 80% of the people, eventually come home, you want to be able to amalgamate them back to their normalcy, their family. But our communities was never normal, so it's hard to amalgamate into normalcy when 7 communities that's disinvested, most ex-felons return back to the most impoverished neighborhoods and communities, broken communities, and then they are expected to live
Reassimilate, right? To
reassimilate.
assimilate back into
Yeah.
society that you've been extracted
Extracted
from
from.
for 20 years.
Yes.
I mean,
And
you
things
can't-
have changed. Nothing is the same.
Can you imagine now, though, if that were the case? I mean, if you were to go out, if you were to go in 5 years ago,
Yeah.
and you came out today, I mean, absolutely, it's
still
almost
different.
unrecognizable.
Yeah, but you think
the
about it. I
changes
didn't
that have
have.
happened.
I had flip phones when I went in.
Well,
We didn't have the internet like
we
that.
were
It
not
was
having
not
a flip
even
phone,
fun.
right? Before
Right,
there was flip phones.
exactly. And
Yeah. So let me ask you this clearly,
mhm.
and this is biographical. So we're talking about how you got to become how you became.
Yeah.
You know, Tyrone F. Muhammad,
Yeah.
Muhammad, that's running for the United States Senate.
Yeah.
So when did that change internal? There was a mind change and there was a heart change, for sure.
Yeah.
There had to be, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Where did that occur?
Well, I've always had that mind change, even in the street.
Well, in
In
the
the
street, let's just say
communities,
this.
I
Let's
was-
just say this for our young people
Yes.
who were previously young and who are young now, still involved with the underground economy. They are some of the most entrepreneurial,
Absolutely.
spirited, and minded people
Absolutely.
that you're going to run into. The economy of the underground economy is an economy unto itself,
Well,
right?
it's still capitalism. It's supply and
It is.
demand.
It is.
So supply and demand by any other name, still supply and demand,
Correct.
regardless
And
to
numbers
the
are
act.
numbers.
Exactly.
And so there's that. So I wouldn't expect that changes because you're a businessman now.
Yes.
You're running very successful businesses. And we'll get to that real, very proud of you with that as well.
Thank you.
But not because of your story, but just because you're doing it,
Yeah.
right? And I'm just always happy to see our brothers and sisters running businesses because we always could,
Yes.
right? I know that's not the narrative, but we always could,
Well,
and we always did.
We did
so there isn't
numbers.
Any reason why we
We've
couldn't.
done everything that just about that's out of bounds, even illegal, with the running the numbers and policy. And they took it from us. Illinois State Lottery and Lottery, they actually doing the same thing. And we done the bootlegging and liquor. Now people have liquor license and the speakeasies that's legal. We've done all that. We've always ran businesses and we've always,
Correct.
figured out a way to make lemonade out of lemons.
Correct. So no matter how it got into you to become a businessman, wherever that was born from, it's there.
Yes.
The there is there. I suppose at this point in time in my life, you can call it a serial entrepreneur. I've been doing this since I was 12,
Yeah.
right? And I didn't just babysat.
Yeah.
I started out babysitting, but then I figured out that, well, if I babysat 2 kids it made $2 an hour. If I could babysit 4 kids, which is this neighborhood, this neighbor right here, and this neighbor right here, and I let them both know that I was available on this Saturday or that Saturday or these 2 Saturdays, then it went from and this one's got 2 kids and this one's got 2 kids, and now I'm making $4 an hour if we could be in one spot.
Absolutely.
And then it went on to summertime, all the kids, and during the week, and now you got daycare before there was such a thing as daycare, because this was people weren't even latchkey kids yet, so there wasn't really daycare like that, right? But then it went on. My dad said, "Hey, what do you want to do? I got an opportunity to help you get a contract with the county government. We lived in Michigan, but the county government mowing the lawns, right? I'm gonna go ahead and buy the riding lawnmower. You gonna get this contract." And I bet you I was out there riding out. My brother didn't want to do it, but I was like, "Yeah, right. Put me on the lawnmower." And I had a 8-track that ran with batteries, right? And it was on there, and I strapped it on the back of there, listening to Stevie Wonder songs in the key of life, and to help with the babysitting thing, because I didn't have time to babysit all day every day. I had 2 of my friends, well, my younger sister and one of my friends, and we ran the business. But I've been doing that since I was a kid, and it's just, my dad was a road builder. He was one of the top black, well, he was the top minority owned, but certainly black owned road builder in the state of Michigan. But so I grew up, but here my granny ran the car game. She ran the, the
Take
car
her cup.
party.
Take her
And
cup.
she had the, the gin in the tub, and she
Pity
ran,
pat.
she ran numbers over there,
Yeah.
So we're entrepreneurial people. It just is what it is. And so I'm real proud about that. But let me move you back over here, right? Because we're coming out. We're not going to spend a lot of time. We're going to spend any more time on the end.
Yes.
We're coming out. And
so it's very important to know that you coming out, how you got what you say, how did I get to that point while I'm sitting in there.
we decided that was it.
I
This is
mean,
it.
I knew I had to create an opportunity because I got tired of growing while I was sat in prison. I often say I have over 200 sons I've left in prison that I've raised. So in prison, we are thrust into an environment where there's every social deviance of society. And I make it very clear that when people judge prisoners and ex-cons, I always want them to understand and remind them that society produced prisoners. Prisoners didn't produce society. I'm going to say it again. So when you hear people judge returning citizens, ex-felons, and they don't properly legislate to build broken bodies that they broke, I'm going to remind you. That's why Jesus said, when was I in prison and you visited me not? Because he understood that those men that's languishing in these houses of ill repute were created and developed from a broken society that then legislated to isolate them.
Well,
So I watch men come in and out of prison. And I said that we can no longer rely on benevolent white people, pastors, and politicians to fix the damage that they can't even fix in free society. Men that have been victimized and suffers from the societal ills have to take a personal responsibility based on experience to fix the damage that their own hands has caused. And I said we can no longer focus on the conspiratorial plots to destroy black men and boys because we don't produce guns. We don't produce switches, 100-round bullets and 100-round drums and cocaine, heroin, and even weed. So we're gonna teach our brothers not to touch it. And we're gonna repair the damage that we know that we had a personal hand in creating the terroristic effect of violence and issues and ills on our own mothers, sisters, aunties, brothers, and communities. So I said we need to start an organization.
so that's our segue.
That's the
Thank you.
segue.
So we're segueing right into the next part,
Yes.
which is let's talk about what came next, ECCSC, right? And your community impact. So after your release, you founded Ex-Cons for Community and Social Change,
Yes.
ECCSC.
Yes.
This was your vision? You already
That's
told me
what-
about it?
Yeah.
So tell me more about the gaps that you have been filling with ECCSC.
Yeah. So I know that in this state, I think we have 3 million ex-felons, at least, or been incarcerated or involved with the law. And there seemed to never be any true reformation in the prison system and then into society. And even when you deal and look at CVI, community violence intervention programs and organizations, they are led by 60 to 75% returning citizens. So if those returning citizens don't fill those gaps, violence would be even higher. Crime would be even worse. Yet society don't view those men and women as tools
And productive
to
tools.
productive tools. And so ECCSC, I came out of prison thinking that I was gonna focus on mentoring programs, mentorship, re-entry work, and workforce development to put at-risk youth or young men to work. I quickly found that if there's violence and there's a problem in keeping our young men alive, then how would they care about working or doing anything when they're trying to survive the day-to-day drama and trauma of their community? So we got right into intervening in the murders, potential shootings and deaths. And like I can say honestly, since I've been home in 2017, I came home and got right on that with no government funding, with no government assistance. And in fact, the government actually tend to work against you because the laws don't allow me to, as an ex-felon, to really go where I really want to be, and that's the grammar schools and high schools.
Right.
Without the judgment of the institutions that put these barriers in place, where the little brother that's 7 years old, 7th grade and 8th grade, block you, CTU, and all of these bureaucracy that never allows us to intervene in the affairs of these deviant young boys and girls who have no parenting and real parenting at home, because parents need parents. And since they emulating the negative effects of ex-felons and ex-gang members, we would be the subject matter expert that probably can have a great influence on the mindset of those kids to say, hey, that leads you nowhere to 21 years of prison like it led me. So you might want to listen to me. I know something about this.
You see my face going through all kinds of things, and that's because the next question that I had was, what does violence interruption look like in real time? But no, that's why my face did all that, because we just came through this week, Monday. When I came home, our whole community was just surrounded with police cars. I was thinking, oh my goodness, I hope there's nothing going on anywhere else in the city, because there's every police officer, every police car in the city is here, in Hyde Park. And to watch what was happening was shocking. My understanding was the week before, on the 25th, I want to say, there was a shooting out on 53rd, and by where the Target is, I believe, and stuff. Another attempted these takeovers. And then last week we had the downtown one, and it occurred to me just now while you're talking. Are these not the places where the violence interrupters should be going? It's going out on the social media that it's going to be happening. That it's coming. It's going to happen. It started at Promontory Point. It was a known. So where are these organizations? I don't mean yours.
No.
The city of Chicago.
I've been there. I've diverted them from Hyde Park before, so I know that.
Well, it's not just Hyde Park. It's wherever they show.
Whatever.
And it's spreading all over the country. I saw somebody from Atlanta, and they were talking about those are starting in Atlanta now to take place. And so my question is that Chicago has invested heavily in violence interruption programs.
Yeah.
I don't think that they've invested heavily in ECCSC. I could be mistaken.
No, you're not.
But I know there are some that they have in the city and the state.
And they continue to invest in those.
federal money.
Yes.
So in these events of things like that, couldn't that be something? Wouldn't that be a prudent use of resources, is to have those city-funded and state-funded organizations show up at these things and help to tamp down some of this activity? To me, part of the answer to children and young people misbehaving or being just all out of pocket and, going ham is men. So if we have all this money, why don't they show up?
Because there's no accountability. So just like the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine, and then there's a special forces that's like the Navy SEALs of violence of that special force. That's how I see ECCSC,
Right.
as a Navy SEALs type special force organization. But sometimes that special force organization can push against its own success because you're too successful without the resources coming from the government. So if these groups that you are used to funding, I call them campaign contributions. The money then is used as a tool to fund politics and elections. More so it is to use as a public safety tool to actually stop violence in Chicago. Because if you were serious about stopping violence, you would take an all hands on deck approach. So if you don't like Tyrone Muhammad and you don't like how I speak truth to power, then I won't receive a public grant, a government grant, because the leader of the grants, the leaders of a particular party, see me as a liability to their continual pimping of violence prevention programs, as well as a way to move money around, launder money, and use money for campaigning. Because ultimately, make no mistake about it, those people, if you follow the money, those people receiving the most of the grant funding are the same people who also participate in Democratic Party politics. So if I'm not, as an independent person, if I'm not affiliated,
Is that the majority of the majority of the funding?
it goes towards
in
those.
CVIs?
Nobody that trusts me, the money will show. Nobody that's not affiliated with the Democratic Party will receive any resources because they haven't gotten in line. And in this case, the money that's given to these same groups continue to receive this money, continue to placate towards that party politics. So in my case, I was allocated resources by several elected officials. Elsie Sims and others who J.B. Pritzker, probably over $6 million was advocated towards our organization, from LaShawn Ford, Willie Preston, Senator Van Pelt, to even Rehab Our Center, was taken from our organization. We wasn't allocated the funding, and it was redirected to Equality Illinois and the North Side organizations. So while our communities are suffering from violence, our elected officials are playing politics with violence and intervention resources. So I was never able to get resources to do the work that I do, and we do great work with the work that we do in comparison to the groups that's receiving 20, 30, 40 million dollars. We are doing great work with nothing. So I know that if those funds was properly allocated and we was to do a check and balance of how this money is being spent, which groups continue to receive this money, you will find that the error is in that. And then those groups are never held accountable to come together to collaborate, because they always searching for the next. They want to be the darlings of the grant. So instead of us coming together and fix violence and coming under institution, one group or conglomerate, We are in our own separate lanes and space. When all those violence prevention groups should merge on Hyde Park to come together,
That's what I'm saying.
they never would do it because they're too busy competing for funding instead of competing to really solve the issue.
You know, and that's really a shame because I appreciate and I do agree that over the summertime, during the summertime, that the jobs program is a big help,
Yes.
a huge help of giving the young people just that opportunity to get their job, get a job. Some of them it's their first job. Some of them are return students for that. But putting money in their pockets, just having, some autonomy, and everything that you get from work, right? But at the same time, it doesn't mean that when work hours is over that the takeovers are not happening. Both can be true at the same time.
Yeah.
The problem with the takeovers, when it gets into the property damage, when you start getting into that, and when it gets into the fighting, and too many times, inevitably, somebody in that group, somebody in there is
Yeah.
gonna pull out a gun,
Yep.
and now it's something totally different, right? And somebody's getting hurt, somebody's getting killed. So if we can't have where those violence interrupters are quickly dispatched into the situation to break it up and redirect, then I don't know. I mean, it can't just be a police. It can't just be a police. First of all, the police are somewhat
But we
hands
have
tied.
no real elected officials who actually are smart enough, courageous enough to, regardless to how you feel about a group, a particular political associations, affiliations, if you're not gonna speak on when you see a successful group or program, and you see that the elected officials, as a group or Black Caucus in this case, don't speak up against the king of Illinois and say, hey, y'all can't continue to keep funding from our communities and not funding the right programs just because you don't like somebody. And that doesn't, and this is what needs to be exposed. Because if you stop me from doing good work and saving lives or participate in the circles of CVI just because you don't like what I'm gonna say, just because I'm gonna point out the issues and the ills of the program, and even from law enforcement to street intervention to the legislative intent, then if I don't want you at the table because you're messing up our hustle. You're messing up Black Death as a hustle. And you can't keep putting him at the table because he's exposing our ineffectiveness.
Yeah. That I know of, and I'm sure there's more, but the
Yes.
one that's coming to the forefront right now on the city council would be Silvana Tavares.
Well-
Silvana Tavares, right. So she's been talking about that there's been a hustle and some
Inefficiency.
fraud.
Yes. Yeah.
She came straight out,
Yeah.
pretty,
The
saying
alder
that.
person.
Yes.
Yes.
Alderman
Yeah.
Tavares. And I think calling for an investigation of the monies that have been being spent with, I don't know, I know
But
it's
I would
not, I
push
know it's
back
not
even
all.
on her and say,
That's what I was
you
gonna
don't
ask.
call back, you don't call for the investigation of TDA members and
What is TDA?
illegals, gangs
Oh,
from Venezuela,
Trinidad.
and do an investigation on why we keep allowing them to be people to inundate our communities. See, it's easy now to take these positions now that they're fractured with the mayor.
I see.
See, now you want to come out and
It's
talk about the
this is posturing.
Like, yeah, this CVI, we're going to look for a
Against the
reason.
mayor.
Yes. So
Got it.
now, but you're the same person who voted and propped up funding, the billions of dollars that was spent to non-citizens over our little sisters and brothers that's running and tearing up Hyde Park.
Yeah.
That should have received funding. So I'm going to say stuff like that. And that's a problem in a city that is sanctuary.
That's a connection I hadn't considered, that's for sure. So I'm going to get back to this 1 second because I want to get to your run for Senate.
Yeah.
And I want to keep, first let's talk about, and thank you for talking about that. And there are definitely measures for success on the CVI stuff, but I think that one of the easiest ways to be able to say we can do something about some of the problems that are happening right now that are affecting everybody all over the place is we can do something on the next publicized teen takeover. We're going to
But
do
we
stuff
can
different.
fix violence
That could be
overnight if we
something-
are serious. There's a way
Sure.
to do it.
But
It
just
is.
for the public to know that these programs are here, if there was something that we could actually see, right? Like I see ECCSC. I know about the programs that you all have. I know about the Bible program and all the different things, right? But that's me,
Yes.
right? And I know about those things. And people who know you know about these things. But there's all these other interrupters, and you're seeing news reports, and you're seeing all kinds of things. And I think that if they're interested in continuing in this work, now's the time for them to step up. I know our reported crime rates are down, but
not this week. 70.
well, that's what I'm okay. So I was gonna say, but then just it's so
Yes.
fragile.
Yes.
It's so fragile that at any moment that can flip, and it has. It's flipping.
Yes.
So there's much work to be done in that arena. I applaud you for the work that you've been doing and the commitment that you have towards
Yes,
it.
ma'am.
But I want to move you over real quick to talk about the cafe
Yes.
and how that's going with your with City Hall.
So,
And they
yeah.
even
So
we're just
so
fighting
the-
it on all the
oh,
battles, and I want to
man.
get to the Senate run right
Everybody-
quick. But
CVI, reentry work, housing, then there's cannabis and hemp fight between big corporate cannabis versus the little guys like us, the hemp spaces. If you follow the money, you will find that our elected officials that's supposed to look out for our best interests have been fed resources for their campaigns by special interest groups from corporate cannabis. So corporate cannabis see people like Tyrone Muhammad who figure out how, I don't say loophole, I say workarounds, to allow us entry into the hemp and cannabis space that's separate and apart from
equity, that
the,
equity,
yes,
right.
that's separate and apart from what cannabis has failed to do for returning citizens, who are the most affected by the war on drugs, who said that the legalization was to solve that problem and create a reparation of sort that fixed the damage caused by the Clinton 94 crime bill.
Correct.
That ushered mass incarceration for 60 years, black men and boys in our homes' doors was kicked in over weed. And now we see 90% of all dispensaries in cannabis legalization is owned by white men.
And not
That
and
don't live.
live or
Don't
operate
live
in the black
the-
community,
Or live in the state.
uh,
Or live in the state.
or live in the state, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I mean, they're. Where is the dispensary in the black community?
So this is
Where
where
one?
we win. Hemp is federally legal.
Correct. Well, they're trying to.
Cannabis is federally illegal.
Correct.
Yet our elected officials on behalf of the corporate cannabis
Just trying to shut you
want to
down.
ban our product that's federally legal.
Right.
And this is what we have fought against, pushed against, whereas in hemp has 50,000 applications from fabrics to plastic.
To
Now
lotion
they're
on your
doing
body.
everything. Now they're creating hemp concretes and building materials.
Hmm.
In the next 20 years, we will probably have no regular concrete. And it's a multi-trillion-dollar industry, yet black peoples are not even in it.
Right.
Our organization, Illinois Black Hemp Association, is probably the biggest and the only group that's pushing against corporate cannabis, and even our elected officials to say, hey, You can't allow through bad actors to, according to corporate canon. You've been in my place. You know you can't even come in my place if you're not 21.
Correct.
You can't even purchase anything without being 20.
This is true.
We put the Hemp 21 law in place. Us, the black people. And yet we have them trying to legislate and ban us when we are socially, economically responsible to who can purchase and who can even participate, and we got proper labeling, proper everything that doesn't entice children.
Right.
Yet we are the ones who will suffer the most, because this should have been a space where we were protected because it's federally legal.
Right.
Yet we have corporate cannabis mainly. I don't know if I should say their names. Curaleaf, Flanagan, Verano, all of these big, Zenleaf, all these big companies has learned how to play politics. Mm-hmm. And that's what they always do,
Well,
whether it's the liquor industry.
Yeah.
Now the liquor industry has gotten the set aside. Tyrone Muhammad can't get a liquor license because I'm an ex-con.
Right.
But they can come in him and get a set
their hemp
aside
drinks. Yeah.
from our elected officials to make them even more powerful, because they're losing money in liquor sales.
Right.
But they're selling THC drinks without having to go through a social equity group like Tyrone Muhammad to partner and to help us build and expand on business. Instead of our elected officials using that as a tool and an opportunity to enrich our community, since I hire at least 40 black women in my organization, and with children and Latinos.
And black men.
And black men that's returning citizens.
Right.
They haven't made them or forced them. They just gave them a blanket set aside because the liquor and the cannabis industry funds our politics.
So let me just.
And so I opened THC Cafe
Yes.
on 21st and State.
Right.
2113 South State. We opened that in the heart of, I would just say South Loop.
In the South Loop.
And we've been relatively successful in just
2 years
taking
now.
it. Yeah, 2 years. So hopefully we'll be expanding and doing some other things. We always ask for people to be a part of it, especially black people. But unfortunately, there always seem to be those outside that want to partner and be a part of us than we do, and that's unfortunate.
Yes, it is unfortunate. I want to have one point of clarity that I need to have. So the city council,
Yes.
I think it was Alderman Hopkins, Brian Hopkins
Yes.
maybe, was the one who
Pushed the ban.
Pushed the ban. And then, as far as I know, it had passed the city council, but
passed.
But then the
And
mayor vetoed it.
Brandon said, yes, we can't ban it because we don't know enough about it. And it would adversely affect black businesses.
Right.
So let's put
So he's-
regulations
so
in
he
place.
stood on it.
He stood on it, and I thanked the mayor personally.
Good.
I thanked him, and we've talked about it. And he said, he's not into banning any black businesses, especially when the reasons for abandoning black is not clear. Right.
Shady.
Yes.
Right. Got it. Okay. So we're gonna segue one more. We're gonna make one more shift.
Yes.
So you're running currently for the United States Senate as on the independent ballot.
Yes.
You are currently amassing signatures.
Yes.
You have had some. I'm trying to understand how this works because you're an independent candidate. The independent candidates were not in the primary that we just had. We want to be clear. There has not been a primary for independent candidates.
Democrats and Republicans.
Right. There was the Democrat primary and the Republican primary. And now, in order for you will be on the ballot with any other independent candidates for different offices, et cetera.
Exactly.
Will be on the general election ballot in November.
Yes.
Is there a deadline for you to have enough signatures? And we're gonna get to the number of signatures because I don't think that people know.
They don't.
And part of what we do here is that we like to make sure that we are informing our listeners how everything works, right? And I don't think that people know how difficult it is for someone to become an independent candidate. even though in our current political climate there is more, um, there is more of a cry for people to be independent, right? I've talked to all kinds of politicians through this last primary cycle, and I can't even tell you how many of them, off the bat, no commentary, off the bat said, I'm an independent Democrat.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
understanding that's something that the voters are starting to look for is independence, right? So now we're saying we want candidates, the voting public is saying we want candidates who are independent. Please tell our listening audience, if you will, how difficult that is, right? Because if it's going to ever get easier for us to have more choices, it needs to start with us knowing how hard it is to get another choice.
Well, I would say this to start. The citizens of Illinois get the vote, get the politics they deserve. And I'm going to explain to you why. Forget the Senate race right now. Let's focus on why I'm running in the first place. Because the people I've been serving as an executive director of ECCSC and all of the work I've been doing, philanthropy, the mentoring, ask me, and I'm always as an advocate complaining about what elected officials are not doing and how policies don't work for us. They said, won't you run for alderman? Come to find out, as an ex-con, I can't run as an alderman or a mayor in a local and other municipal races. Can't be Cook County Board President, can't do none of that. But because, I'm going to say it again, and I'm going to just hit the elephant in the room. The Democratic Party has put these parameters in place that said ex-felons can't run for office locally. But here we are. I can't run for a local office, but I can run for the highest two offices in the land of America. United States Senator and the President. Look at this. I can run for the CEO of America. And I can run for the second office, the United States Senator. But I can't run for a local office as an alderman.
I did not know that.
And if we don't understand the level of corruption in that, where my vote count, but my candidacy don't count.
Yeah.
How can I vote for an alderman, but can't run as an alderman?
And that's not everywhere. That's Illinois.
That's Illinois.
Right. That's in Illinois.
So
I wanted to be clear about that.
My run for United States Senator is just a pushback at the show that moronic nature of. Not that I even thought that I could win as a senator. Just the fact that I'm able to run and speak truth to power on the same stage of these people who politics and money he's probably spent over $100 million just in the primaries between the Democrats. So here I am running as a United States Senate to push back on the two-party system that has isolated and locked out anybody that dare to go against them two parties. So your next segment would be the signature requirement.
Well, tell people how hard this is, right? So they need to know this is not something that you just
So this is like walking
do.
up, running as an independent in Chicago or Illinois. It's like climbing Mount Everest with no equipment. When no equipment would be no money, no political backing, no corporate sponsorship, no lobbyists, no unions backing you to go against the status quo. Democrats have to have 5,000 signatures to get on the ballot. Tyrone Muhammad for United States Senate have to have 25,000 signatures. That's 5 times more. But not only that, I have to have 10 times more.
Right.
Because
They're
I
gonna
have to
spoil
have
the best.
50,000 signatures. Because J.B. Pritzker and the Democratic establishment will use their money, political might to knock me off of the ballot. So I have to have enough registered voters and good signatures that justify that the people would like to see me as a candidate, to have an alternative. You can't say you're an independent Democrat while flagging Democrat and lining up or independent Republican. Impossible, because they never break from the party inequities. They never do. So you either independent, which most of us really are, but they run as a Democrat because they only the requirement of the signatures. And they
Right.
run
Okay.
as a Republican because of the requirement of the signatures.
I see.
That's not democracy. That's no due process. That is a faulty political system that continue to promote a two-party system while they both claiming to be different. Yet they all operate in the same rules that allow one parties to hold power and control.
Okay, so it's an uphill battle. How
Yeah.
are you, so right now you're still gathering signatures?
Absolutely, I have to the middle. I think February, May the 25th of May or so to turn my signatures in.
Okay.
My goal is to have by the middle of May minimum of 50,000 signatures.
And you've been
that
going all over the state?
I have been going to have signatures upstate. Now I'm going to drop off another between 5 to 10,000 signatures from DeKalb to Peoria to Springfield, all up so that those people can work for me. And the reception, especially in Republican states, is because they're tired of Republicans and they want to see something new as well. And they've been receptive of me running as an independent and look forward to voting for me. So the beginning is getting on the signature, getting the signatures, getting on the ballot, and informing the people. But the big thing that the people don't understand: 5% of the vote. If I win, but in the event that I don't, to win 5% of the vote allows me to create my own party. I can create the Sure Party. I'm just only showing you it allows you to have a third party. Now they don't have
Now
to
you
have
have
the
something.
Mount Everest.
Right, now you don't have to
Now
have
people
23,000,
can. Now I
25,000.
can slate candidates all across this state.
Okay, so 5% gets you some progress.
It allows you to create that third party that we don't have to push against the two-party system that's been dominating our state.
Well, that's what, it seems like I was saying, that seems like a desire of voters these days. And it's been building for a while.
I've touched
I
a lot
don't
of
see
voters,
how,
and
I
that's
don't
what they
see
want.
with the current,
Landscape of
the temperature check is just so bad out here. It's so toxic.
What I'm finding,
the
though, is a lot
partisanship
of
and so
men.
many people.
Yeah.
Yes, especially men.
Men. Because the Democratic Party and the Republican Party
Sure, that's why I
have a
said
problem with black men.
yes.
Both parties.
The United States has a very
But
good
we in the state of Illinois. That's why I try not to go. When they talk about the king in Washington, I'm focused on the king in Illinois. I
because
can't.
most politics is
It's
local,
local.
right? Right. All right, so we're going to have to start to wrap this up
Yes, ma'am.
because we could go all day, and I really appreciate it. So I have a couple of things
Yes, please.
that we always end. What is it? And I want you to give me a smaller version. What is it that grounds you today?
Having something to fight for. That's my heroes are Fred Hampton, Malcolm X, Dr. King, Medgar Evers, Haki Al-Matabuti, Black Man Singer, Obsolete Dangerous. Those are the things that has instilled in me the desire to fight for and serve our community and the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and unifying us across the country, the state and across the country. So That's what grounds me. Finding something to fight for. And I've been doing that for a long time now.
Yeah, you have, and always a person who's going to show up.
Yes, ma'am.
And when there's something to be, there's a serious issue that needs to be addressed.
Now, mind you,
Muhammad,
at my own peril, because I didn't isolate myself from any resources and opportunities that can happen for me if I just shut up and be quiet. So I'm not that person. So,
can you live with that person?
No, I couldn't. I wouldn't.
Right. So when it's all said and done, how do you want Chicago to remember you, since we just said that?
As a community servant. I can care less, because at the end of the day, when your body is in that ground, your works, you'll be able to Google me and finally see the type of stuff, the type of activity, the type of sacrifice, the type of frontline stuff that I've actually been a part of that went unnoticed and under the radar. So my goal is to make my ancestors proud of what they've paid, what they've died for. So I'm good right now. I can die tomorrow, and I would be pleased with the stuff I've tried to do in this city and with those that I love.
If the ancestors could see you, I'm sure they would. They're already proud of the man that
I'm
you
in
are.
the wrong era. I should have been with Fred Hampton now.
Well,
I should have been in that.
no,
that
this
group.
is the time for your work.
Yeah, yeah.
Their time was their time.
Yes,
This is your time. So, last question I ask everybody is, what is a Chicago state of mind for you? What is Chicago? What is a Chicago state of mind?
Well, I will just give you this. Hard trials are necessary to establish truth. We are a city who endures, or we are individuals and citizens who endure hard trials on our path to truth. That's what Chicago has. That's what Chicago is. That's what Chicago has developed in us. And I expect trials, even if they're negative, to usher in a pathway, a foundation in the future.
Agreed. We are tough people.
Wow.
Tyrone, thank you so much for coming in and spending time with us today. I'm sure our audience is going to enjoy hearing from you, and we want to have you back again. We're going to walk on this journey with you, and we're going to see how this goes, because like I said, I know that people want to know what their alternatives are.
Yes.
And it's that serious at this point in time. So for Chicago State of Mind, I want to say thank you again.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll be seeing you again. You can check out Chicago News Weekly. Tyrone Muhammad was a cover story, I want to say, last year.
Yes.
But if you visit www.cnw Media, I will make sure to put a post up there with the copy of his issue that he was in, so you can click on it and read the cover story. So this has been Chicago State of Mind. Chicago State of Mind is a product of Chicago News Weekly and CNW Studio. It's produced by K-Room Entertainment. Visit us at www.cnwmedia.com, and you can find us on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube, and all of the other podcast platforms. For CNW Network, I'm Cheryl Maynor. Until next time.